We are going to spend the next 8 minutes talking about powering the global cities of the future. And I want to leave you with 3 things. So here's the preview. The biggest cities in the world likely aren't the ones you think they'll be. Meeting their needs for electricity impacts not only climate change, but daily life. And a global partnership that is robust and works directly with the cities is needed as we move forward. Let's look into the future. In the year 2050, 600 million people are expected to live in just 25 cities. That's equivalent to adding Indonesia. It's double the number in the year 2000, and it's a reflection of the huge growth in cities around the world. But in looking at the 25 cities, we see an unprecedented and unexpected group. No city in Europe is included. The United States is represented twice by New York and Los Angeles, but Chicago falls to number 35. So who do we find? 8 cities are in the Indian subcontinent. In fact, Pakistan is represented twice, just like the United States. 5 of the cities are in Africa. Emerging conflict zones like Baghdad and Kabul make the list. In these cities, a significant portion of the population lives in informal settlements. Cities like Khartoum or Kolkata or Karachi are not the typical cities discussed in a Global Cities Forum. They also don't get the attention they deserve in discussions of climate change. But it is these cities and powering their growth that will drive significant increases in electricity demand and potentially carbon. Electricity is the anchor to modern life. But in the largest cities in 2050, we can't take electricity for granted. In 60% of the cities, not every urban resident has access to electricity. And in half of the cities, blackouts are common. In 2012, the largest blackout ever recorded hit India, home to 5 of the largest cities in 2050. Half of the population was left without power. Picture what happens when electricity isn't reliable. Imagine healthcare. Basic tests can't be run, records can't be reviewed, patients can't be seen, literally. Or imagine running a small business that stitches clothes, or a factory. Electricity is core to social and economic development. But as electricity rises, carbon often rises as well. A major reason is that fossil fuels dominate electricity production. In fact, 9 of the 25 cities are in countries that get at least 40% of their electricity from coal. Let's think about what that means. Today, the global average of carbon emissions per capita is just under 5. The cities on this list range from double digits to under 1. 5 of the cities are above the global average. And these are the cities that are typically on a global cities list: New York, Los Angeles, Shanghai, Beijing, and Tokyo. But the vast majority of the cities are below the global average. By comparison, they're not emitting much at all today. But these are the cities with the fastest population growth rates. These are the cities where electricity today isn't reliable. These are the cities where electricity use is rising. Meeting the monumental challenge of powering these cities can go one of 2 ways. If every one of the 25 cities emits at the level of the highest, it's equivalent to adding a United States, or 1.5, to the planet. If every new global resident emits at that level, the terrifying extremes of climate change will be all too real, and they'll actually be felt in these cities. Half of these cities are coastal. They will face rising seas and violent storms. And most of the cities are in hotter climates. Imagine multiple days in a row where the temperature is over 100 degrees, or 110. On the other hand, if we transform the sources and uses of electricity, not only do we impact the worst effects of climate change. Daily life for millions of people can improve. People who don't have access to modern electricity or who suffer from poor air quality from dirty fuels. The transition to cleaner generation is happening rapidly. Last year, over half of new electricity generation was from renewables, just as it was in the year before. But much of this electricity is needed for buildings. It's estimated that 75% of the buildings and the infrastructure that the Global South will have in 2050 has yet to be built. That's an immense construction wave that will produce millions of buildings and the electricity grid that powers them. An efficient building on a flexible grid can have its power that is reduced support the building next door. But you can't separate climate challenges and electricity systems from governance and financial capacity. And 9 of these cities are located in countries like Sudan or Pakistan or the Democratic Republic of Congo. These are countries with high fragile state index scores, indicating political risk and vulnerability to conflict or even collapse. How does a city like Kabul or Kinshasa enforce safe and efficient building codes? Are building codes even relevant when 25 to 60% of the population lives in informal settlements? Meeting this challenge will require global partnerships that stretch across sectors and beyond geographic boundaries. Think of the potential as the World Bank and regional development banks increasingly tie public service delivery improvements to climate and energy. Dollars for technical support and regulatory improvements are linked to backing for efficient buildings and a flexible grid. Or vehicles like the Green Climate Fund create a direct pathway for dollars that can go to nations or to cities. And a city itself can power the transition in electricity that it needs. Or people in this room, directly or through vehicles like social impact bonds, can invest on the ground in actual projects that can create power and turn a low-carbon light bulb on in someone's home or business. And global investments in technology can ensure that that next light bulb and that next solar panel are more effective than the last. Many of the energy infrastructure and energy use decisions in the growing cities of the world have yet to be made. Global partnerships can power global cities so that they are vibrant, thriving, and inclusive on a planet that can support us all. The next step is to put these cities on the Global Cities agenda. Thank you.